Okay, welcome, Professor Chakrabarty.
Okay, friends, next 40 minutes, I am going to give you an overview in case of the updates in 2019. First, look into this fungal world. We have nearly 1 fungal species are there, 1.5 million fungal species are there, but only 150 to 300 fungi are known to cause human infection. Why? The reason is our body temperature is 37, environmental temperature is 25, there is a temperature restriction. Fungi like to thrive at 25 degrees. But what happened, it's a sad part, the situation has changed over the years. Especially the global warming leads to higher temperature adaptation by the fungi. And we are daily seeing more and more fungi now are getting human body quite suitable for them to grow. And that's big challenge. You can see one schizophrenic fungus, yeast, that is Candida auris, which is now conquering the world. Everybody is getting concerned of it. But the friends, you know, this Nature journal, way back in 2012, they highlighted that 72% of the animal species is going to be extinct and around 64% plant species is going to be extinct. But nobody paid any attention. Next year, 2013, they said that it could happen in one night. In case of the planetary disaster, out of the 4, 1 was death of fungal epidemics. 2 years back, again they have cautioned, stop neglecting fungi. That was in their editorial. Because they found that there is around 1.6 million deaths occur in case of fungal disease, which is comparable to tuberculosis and even more than malaria. But our all attention to tuberculosis, malaria, is also can cause famine, because you can see so many of the food crops which are going to be destroyed because of this fungal infection. But whether it is media, whether it is in case of the administrator, nobody paying attention, they are sitting in limbo. So friends, here we need some crosstalk between bench and bedside. If you ask me why we need such, I'm giving 3 examples. One is the AIDS elimination. Second is in case of antibacterial stewardship program, which we are seeing in most of the hospital, and also in case of antifungal stewardship. The communicable disease used to kill millions of people worldwide, destroyed many civilizations. But it was in AIDS, which is one of the rare things happened, disease identified in 1984, and within 25 years, we started thinking for elimination of this disease. From AIDS, people got again enthusiastic, and the sustainable developmental goal is that they would eliminate all communicable disease by 2030. It's a good wish thinking, but whether it is possible or not, already we started failing. In this ambitious goal, failure to end AIDS as a pathfinder in case of this big stake. You see that in 2010, they decided they will make the death in AIDS by 2030 zero. Means complete elimination of death. But by 2013, only there is 15% mortality reduction was there. Still, there was 85% which was not soluble. And you can see now they have revised the target, UNAIDS has revised the target, saying that they like to achieve by 2030 the same goal which should be there. But if you look into these deaths which occurs in case of the AIDS, quite a large number is because of fungal disease. To control fungal disease, if you don't improve the diagnostics and have the crosstalk between the bench and bedside, you will not be able to achieve the same thing. Look at this particular study which have been published in Lancet in 2015, which really clarified very clearly that if you screen AIDS patient and identify Cryptococcus, which is one of the cause of the mortality, give preemptive therapy, that would be very important. So we need a crosstalk if you have to control in case of the AIDS, especially of cryptococcosis. This is a provocative perspective which we published in Emerging Infectious Disease. We said that your antibacterial stewardship program will not be successful if you don't improve the diagnosis of fungal disease. The reason is fungal sepsis is not separate or cannot be distinguished from bacterial sepsis. You will go on giving antibiotics in this patient and fungal infection remains hidden. So misdiagnosis is a very important issue, and here you have to talk with the microbiology or mycology laboratory and the clinician. That is very important in case of this. Can you do something better? In case of blood culture, it's a good technique if you really culture 20 ml of blood from one side and 20 ml from another side, and the sensitivity is comparable to PCR. But blood culture positivity is only 50%. Still, we are missing 50%. And another drawback is that it takes almost 2 to 3 days, which is a long time. So there is an improvement which had already come, that is the T2 magnetic resonance nanoparticle mediated detection of Candida. And you can see compared to 2 to 3 days, it is only 2 to 3 hours they can identify Candida infection. But it only identifies 5 species. Second important thing, there is a big issue in case of contamination, which is be a very difficult problem in case of our developing country, where the laboratories are not so well developed. Third important thing, we cannot do the susceptibility testing. And do you know what is the cost of one test? One test costs $300. Though it is available in Europe, but still they cannot do the same thing. Now, there are some developments which are coming up, several FLIMARRAY diagnostic kits where both bacterial and fungal disease are being tried to be identified together, but it still requires a multi-scientific study for fungal diagnostics. So friends, when I ask a clinician, especially in case of ICU physician, that please don't give empiric therapy, you diagnose and then treat. But your blood culture positivity rate is only 50%. You know, we can say about some clinical score to diagnose these cases. The colonizing index have been said about it. Even Ostrowski's rule have been said about it. But we have seen in case of developing country that so much of the antibiotics given, almost 97% of our patients in ICU are already colonized with Candida. If they are already colonized, that means every person had to be given antifungal, which is not good. So how a clinician can plan a targeted therapy? If we go for empiric therapy, this is a study which have been published a few years back. This is empiric micafungin which had been given in ICU patient, which had shown there is no difference in mortality whether you give antifungal or not giving antifungal. So BMJ in editorial mentioned that earlier we used to think that some care good, more care better. But now after this study, in case of the ICU fungal infection, they started saying need targeted therapy. That means we have to diagnose it. Now, you can already see there are several problems in case of diagnosis. Only 50% can be diagnosed. So I have no answer what to do. Even if you go to Google, lot of questions Google may not also able to answer. We all think that Google can answer everything. That is not there. So we need a crosstalk to improve this scenario which is there. Coming lastly, in case of these particular 3 points which I have raised, in case of the AIDS, in case of the antibacterial stewardship, now coming to antifungal stewardship. In case of any stewardship program, we say right antifungal, right patient, right time, with right dose, with right route, and there should not be harm in case of the patient. But in case of antifungal stewardship, right antifungal and right patient depends on diagnosis. Where there is problem, right time, early diagnosis is a problem, early diagnosis is not there. Right dose, therapeutic drug monitoring is very important, and most of the antifungals are given intravenously, So you have to admit the patient. And majority of the antifungals are causing toxic effect. So if you look into these 10 rules in case of antifungal stewardship, 5 rules concern about the diagnosis, whether it is differentiating from colonization, non-culture based diagnostics, limit empiric therapy, go for preemptive therapy, all of them require crosstalk. So I hope I could really prove this contention that we need a crosstalk between the laboratory as well as the clinician. Now coming to the updates in last 1 year. First thing is that generally it is the Western world data which showed that at least in case of invasive candidiasis, attributable mortality has come down to 49 to 25%. What about aspergillosis? First thing, we are seeing incidence has gone up. A new risk factor. I'm not very sure what is happening in Vietnam. We are going to hear from Dr. Bin on this issue. But in most of the developing country, even in case of developed country, where I have many interaction with the clinician, they all said in post H1N1, there is a large group of invasive aspergillosis. Post-tuberculosis, chronic pulmonary aspergillosis is a big problem. So we had a guideline this last 2 years, which had been there. Mucormycosis, very recently, this has been still online in Lancet Infectious Disease. That is the One World, One guideline, which is there. There are new issues are coming up. You know, both in case of hematologic malignancy and in case of our so-called there is problem of rheumatoid arthritis, or even in case of inflammatory bowel disease, we are using a lot of biologicals now. And there is another group which is coming up with opportunist fungal infection. New antifungals. Dr. Atul is going to discuss about it. Many antifungals is now in pipeline. We are getting new trends. People are getting some scores or finding some scores which can see whether we are going along the guidelines. More updates, knowledge, especially in case of game changer in fungal disease, which is coming up. New fungi have been found to causing human infection. We are getting new concern, especially in new susceptible group. We have now microbiome study. Like microbiome, we are also going for microbiome study of the gut, and that had been linked with inflammatory bowel disease. And there is a big issue of emerging antifungal resistance and improvement in case of diagnosis and management. Look into this game changer. You know, there was an outbreak happened in case of Vancouver area and also to the northwest part of US. This was a disease caused by cryptococcosis. Cryptococcus is a disease of the tropical area. Usually the temperate area was never having high number of cases. But this was a susceptible species, Cryptococcus gattai. This caused so much havoc. Though it is susceptible, diagnosis was not difficult, even there was 30% mortality. The reason is the fungus had become more pathogenic and virulent. And last year or this year, you can see this paper which have been published, which are dated now, that how this particular strain from Brazil, it had gone up and up and up every year and reaching to the Vancouver Island. So this is a very important study there. Second important game changer. We generally used to know that fungi have the disease acquired from the environment by spores. We never knew that human-to-human infection is there or animal-to-human infection other than, say, dermatophyte infection. Rest others, we never knew about it. We always knew that infection acquired from the environment. But here, there is a very important disease that brought up. In case of Brazil, that is called sporotrichosis, and this sporotrichosis is a new species, Sporothrix brasiliensis, which had now thousands of cases. It's spreading from the cat to human, and this particular disease had been proven very clearly that cats spreading the disease in Brazil. Already I've mentioned the Candida auris, which is coming up in a very big way. You know, the first time any fungal disease came into the New York Times on the first page, it mentions that fungal immune to drugs quietly sweeps the globe. Imagine this particular disease is going so high in number. And first time amongst the urgent threats of CDC is mentioning the list, Candida auris had come into this picture. The reason is this particular fungus is behaving just like a bacteria. You can see that it is developing resistance very fast. Generally, fungal resistance is by mutation, which takes slowly long time to develop this resistance. But this particular resistance, within no time, within 10 years, all Candida auris are resistant to fluconazole. Even it is becoming resistant to voriconazole. In case of our South Asian strain, we found around 30% they are resistant to pollen. So this is a very dangerous bug. And you can see this is in 2009, first identified in Japan. Within no time, within 10 years, it has spread to 32 countries. Very recent data is 40 countries where it has spread this Candida auris. We have got very high number in India. Now the cases have been found in Singapore, Thailand, and many of these Asian countries. And I'm sure Vietnam is also having Candida auris. We need to have good diagnostic laboratory to diagnose it. Because phenotypic method cannot diagnose it, we need either MALDI or we need a sequencing system for identification of Candida auris. Coming to the next, new disease and new agents. This is one fungus, which is a dimorphic fungus that is called Emergomyces africanus. Several cases have been reported now from South Africa. Then there is another species which is coming up that is called Emergomyces canadensis, which have been seen in case of Canada and US. Now also we are seeing in India this Emergomyces pastorina. So you can see new fungus which is coming up. This is exactly like histoplasma. They have their histopathology exactly like histoplasma. Only if you isolate this fungus, you can identify this fungus. Next, about chronic pulmonary aspergillosis. Post-tuberculosis, patient had gone home after getting therapy. When they come back with same recurrence of the symptoms, we generally think that it is drug-resistant tuberculosis. We go for gene expert. Even the gene expert coming negative, we start second-line anti-tubercular therapy. Around 20% of these cases are not tuberculosis, they are chronic pulmonary aspergillosis. And this chronic pulmonary aspergillosis, especially in case of this developing country, incidence is very high. So we worked on this aspect, tried to formulate how we can diagnose this. This is the paper which you can see published in case of emerging infectious disease last year, and it had given a guideline how to go for it. Here, if you don't have CT, even chest X-ray can help, and you need to have Aspergillus antibody, which is not difficult to diagnose. New concern, new susceptible group, new risk factors, new epidemiology. One important thing, as I mentioned, especially in Europe, it had shown last ECMID data that attributable mortality in candemia has come down. Possibly it is because of improvement in diagnosis and echinocandin efficacy. But we are now seeing higher mortality in case of this resistant fungi like Scedosporium, Mucor, Fusarium, and Aspergillus. We conducted a study which is published this year from our country. This was on the invasive mold infection in ICU, where we had shown very high mortality, and we knew these are the two risk factors. That is either the immunocompromised patient of hematologic malignancy or transplant disease, but this time we have found out many new risk factors. And you can see chronic liver disease, chronic renal failure, diabetes, and steroids are new risk factors. But one risk factor which I like to highlight, that is the post-H1N1, which I have said. And this paper you can see, which have been published still online, influenza co-infection, be aware or beware of the invasive aspergillosis. You can see the mortality of this disease, which is having invasive aspergillosis, have more than those who are having only influenza without aspergillosis. And this is 16 to 23% in those cases. It's a very important disease, and at least in 16 countries. And when we did this ICU study, beyond aspergillus, what we have found out that mucormycosis is a very important risk factor. We are seeing now more ideas. What is the exact? We know that these are the, like suppose hematologic malignancy, transplant patients, these are known risk factors in this. But this is a very important study by Professor Lee and their team. They have found CARD9 is one of the pathways, signal transduction pathway, where the deficiency is causing many fungal infections. Initially, it was shown in case of chronic mucocutaneous candidiasis. Now it had shown by their team in many of the fungal diseases. So this is one important issue. Coming to the microbiome in the gut issue. You know, it has been shown that in our gut there are 66 fungal genera and 184 fungal species are there. What it had been found is that diet is a major factor which is playing an important role. Vegetarian diet is bringing more mycelial fungus. It's a very contrary to the belief, and non-vegetarian diet is bringing more candida species in it. And what it had been correlated now, that there is a correlation of inflammatory bowel disease, whether it is ulcerative colitis, there is issue which is coming up in case of this relation with this. Now, this dysbiosis which happens in case of the gut, is it because of the inflammatory bowel disease or dysbiosis cause inflammatory bowel disease? It's not very clear in that situation. So there are several studies going on, but it has shown that most common fungal infection in patients with IBD were Candida species, and most commonly the Candida infection is found in the gut. And this has been seen mostly within the 12 months of IBD or within 6 months of anti-TNF alpha treatment. I know it's a busy slide just to give you impression whether it is Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, all these cases you can see many of the fungi which have been isolated possibly play important role. Coming to the antifungal resistance. We did a study earlier, this is about 7-8 years back, which had shown that in case of bloodstream infection, in case of Candida, there is only 45% or only 55% species which are susceptible. 45% are there, they are resistant or susceptible dose-dependent range. What it had been found, even in case of the so-called susceptible species, albicans and tropicalis, there are resistance which is emerging. You can see the data from Malaysia, China, everywhere you see Candida albicans and Candida tropicalis, there is a high number of resistance coming up, both in case of fluconazole and voriconazole. I hope Dr. Bean is going to give you the data in case of the Vietnam. I have not gone because of that. Azole resistance and Aspergillus fumigatus. This is a big issue in case of the Europe. But still, in Asian country, the incidence is not very high. It's 1% or less than 1%. That's important, but we need to be cautious about it. So we are not very sure whether it is a global phenomenon or restricted to certain geographical location. Fluconazole resistance in Cryptococcus. This is a very difficult problem which had come up in case of AIDS elimination. Mean prevalence of resistance has been shown up to 12%, which is very high in nature, where we need to be cautious. Coming next, what is the progress in case of the diagnosis? Now we have biomarkers. We are trying with the nucleic acid for detection. You know, proteomic approach, that's very good. One is the MALDI, which is excellent. And I'm happy to know yesterday that at least in Vietnam, there are 10 MALDIs are there. 10 MALDI, which is available in different centers. Different countries, I know, where there is not a single MALDI still present. So MALDI is a very important issue. But here, limitation of proteomics is that we cannot amplify. That's why we need a very sensitive method for detection. Whereas in genomic method, we can amplify. But the problem in genomic is that there is chance of contamination. So that's major issue. I can tell you, look into these different studies which we have conducted at our center, and we have shown that compared to even nucleic acid, MALDI has turnaround time less than detection by PCR. Even what we are trying to do is that from the blood whenever there is a signal. Signal means when you are either BacT/ALERT or BacTech method, you are doing the incubation. After signal, we generally do the subculture. And then we go isolate the fungus or bacteria and we identify by MALDI. But what we are doing is that by centrifugation, we are just going straight away when there is a signal and we are able to identify nearly 67%. So we are improving in case of the turnaround time. We also have done, in case of this susceptibility testing using MALDI, you can see the difference. In case of the fluconazole resistant strain of Candida tropicalis with the susceptible species, there is difference in case of spectrum. But still, friends, where we are lying, we are still going with the current diagnosis when there is a clinical infection. But in case of antifungal, for better management, we have to pick up the time when there is biological infection, means when fungus enters in it. So here there is a need of improvement in case of biomarkers, several existing biomarkers, and improvement in case of biomarker coming up. This would all be taken up tomorrow when we discuss about these biomarkers. But one important thing had happened, at least in case of Aspergillus diagnosis. There are two kits which have come up, like Cryptococcus, that is called lateral flow kit. This is immunochromatographic technique, and this can quickly, even in peripheral laboratory, can pick up the diseases. That's why in crypto there is so much improvement. Now this particular two lateral flow, one is detecting galactomannan, another is the protein one. And you can see both of them really can pick up good number of cases. At least in our center, we have recently evaluated lateral flow assay. In case of galactomannan, found good result. And we are planned from January, there would be a multicentric study before incorporating in our routine diagnostics. So what is now screening plan-wise, any patient suspicious of it, look for whether there is any chance of biomarker positive or PCR positive. If there is positive, you think about how you can manage on this. I'm just giving you a glimpse because all of this subject would be taken in details more and more. So in case of diagnosis of invasive aspergillosis in ICU, we know it can be very high. If it is serum is positive, CT is showing good clear sign, and the patient is immunocompromised. But now, as I have mentioned, that immunocompetent patient is also having invasive aspergillosis. So here it is either BL fluid positive for GM, or you have culture positivity and CT scan showing any imaging shadow. Then you start thinking that can there be invasive aspergillosis. Coming last part is the management issue. We have now, there is so many new antifungals which Dr. Atul is going to discuss, but you can see the list. Earlier, it was only Pollen, then came the azoles, then echinocandin, and you see so many of these antifungals are in the pipeline. This is very important, and this may really change in case of fungal management. Why we need newer antifungal? The reason is that present antifungal has problem in bioavailability. There is issue of drug interaction. There is issue in case of dosing. If we have to give intravenous daily, that's a problem. Can we do some weekly intravenous dosing? That would be better. Limited spectrum, can we have a broad spectrum? Resistant issues coming up where that would be important. Isavuconazole, I'm sure this is coming very soon in case of the Asian market. And this particular drug after fluconazole is the second wonder drug which came, which is water soluble. All our azoles are water insoluble except fluconazole. But this is another azole had come which is water soluble, and this had been shown in study that in case of mucormycosis and aspergillosis is a good result. Though in case of Candida study in very recent paper, we showed that it is not that good compared to echinocandin. But at least in aspergillosis and mucormycosis is good. Another drug which is almost in the market, it is the Ibrance Fungrep, which is a new novel antifungal agent. It is like other echinocandin working in case of the beta-glucan side. And this particular fungus, this particular antifungal, when looked into it and found that it was active against Candida, non-albicans Candida, azole resistant, echinocandin resistant, and Aspergillus resistant. So this is just, I am giving a glimpse again. Details would be coming in next lecture, but these are very important issues which had come up. Lastly, I like to emphasize this mucormycosis guideline. You see, earlier all guidelines used to be from the Europe or US, but this is the first time Dr. Oliver Corneli and myself were the coordinator of this guideline. A lot of my friends who are also part of this authorship in this particular paper. And this particular guideline you can go and see in case of Lancet Infectious Disease. This is there already on online. And you can see there is special attention had been taken to the Asian situation, where there are new mucormycosis is there which can be taken care of. Even in case of the management, the pathway, when all options are available, had been shown, and also when isavuconazole is not available, or even if there is a problem of liposomal amphotericin B is not available, it had shown. So this way, it had really an improvement which had come. You can use this scoring system. Initially, it started with Candida scoring, now with Aspergillus and Mucor had come up. This scoring system, people look into it, any patient, stewardship team goes and look into this when you have started this antifungal. What is the way you can look into this if there is non-CBC carrier, or if there is central venous catheter carrier, they can score on the different parameters. And if the score is better, that means their guidelines is being followed, that is being shown there. I mentioned about these biologics. These biologics are coming up in an important way of causing both bacteria and fungal infection. This is a new area where you like to highlight. Very recently, means about a week back, we had a conference in our country where a symposium has been dedicated on these biologics. You see, these biologics is so important. We can have like anti-TNF alpha factor, we have got very high incidence of histoplasmosis chain. So the question is coming up whether we should screen before giving biologics or not. There is also, in case of triple immunomodulator, when you are giving, there is the issue of pneumocystis coming up, trimethoprim, sulfamethoxazole, and all this. Other rare fungal infection like blastro, mucor, and sporo has also been there. So I feel that this is a new area, new topic where needs attention by all of you. So friends, summarizing what I tried to tell you is that game changer in fungal disease is there. There are very important issue. It's no more that fungal is following that earlier method. They are crossing the temperature restriction zone. They are even causing man-to-man, like in Candida auris, or from animal to man sporotrichosis, which is there. This reason is fungal adaptation with the condition of the human. We are seeing new susceptible hosts, new disease which are coming up. Antifungal resistance is also emerging. We have some improvement, whether it is in MALDI, biomarker, and fungal PCR. We have got new initiative that is coming up. We are doing for the genetic susceptibility study as CARD9 study, which had been shown from Professor Lee's laboratory, point of care tests which are coming up. Asian laboratory, lot of investment still required because we need to improve this laboratory. But we can go for cheaper options like lateral flow assay. New antifungals are coming in pipeline. Local management strategy is required. But most important thing is that we need to have a crosstalk between the laboratory and the bedside. That is very important. And I always say that when you are managing fungal disease, think of fungus. That's one of the important issues until you miss it, this disease. Again, I invite you, this particular congress, which will be in May. Bangkok is not very far from you. You can easily plan to have this particular conference. And finally, also I invite the next The Isham World Congress is going to be in India. That would be in 2021. We have already finalized the date, 16th to 20th March. And we have got very good response in case of the symposium which had come. So friends, help us fight fungal disease worldwide and save millions of lives. That is very important. Thank you for your kind attention.